Hello everyone, Nick here from the Sage Scrolls, and today we're looking at Nukes Time Travel and Dragons Part 4 of this 4-part series. The other 3 parts will be on my channel. I'll put them in a playlist, I'll link everything that needs to be linked, and you should be able to finish the story with me just fine. With that being said, let's just get straight into it. Part 4 of Nukes Time Travel and Dragons, posted by user/Tom with an H. Morale was low as we left Katapesh. When I say the party had no clear idea of what it was we were supposed to be doing, I mean that, and with no hyperbole. There were no hooks for our characters to hang hope on, so we were just chugging along the railroad, thinking that it had to go somewhere. The place it was headed was a nearby mountain range. I say nearby, but looking at a map of the country now, it must have been at least 80 miles to the north. When we arrived in the mountains, we encountered a monster that I can't recall. It wasn't a Remoraz, but it was one of those similar big, long wilderness monsters. It was an involved battle, but we defeated the beast only to have a second one pop out. That second one began talking and said that we had doomed her and her children now that we had killed their father and there was no one to hunt. The party wasn't having it. We hadn't instigated that fight, so the appeal to our guilt was ringing a little hollow. Also, if these things were hunting random sentient humanoids to feed their kids, maybe it was in the interest of sentient humanoids to let them die? Regardless, the sorcerer gave the creature a ring of sustenance and told the thing that the ring would keep it fed. We all considered that solved and just walked away. We had a map to follow. The map led us to a dungeon entrance. We entered what the DM described as a massive dome, so tall and wide that you can't see how big it really is in the pitch darkness. I guess we were assuming it was a dome based on the small section of wall just behind us? Regardless, we lit some magical torches for the benefit of the regular humans in the group and soldiered on. At this point, the GM began describing a magic user that began pranking and harassing us as we walked in darkness. The GM was just describing this jerk taunting us with a message spell and playing little illusory tricks on us. I remind you that morale was low, as it could get at this point, so a trickster mage was on nobody's wish list. Due to the oppressive darkness of the dome, we couldn't figure out where he was, except the sorcerer. The sorcerer was able to use his magic and keen perception to backtrace the magic to a ledge like 20 feet off the ground, jutting out from the side of the dome. The sorcerer teleported up there using his shadow teleport thing, and was immediately called to make a saving throw against fear. The assumption around the table was, since the GM provided no additional description at the time, that the mage had prepared a cause fear spell or something similar. The sorcerer failed, but he decided to get a little crafty. So, I have to immediately use any resources available to me to flee the source of my fear, in this case of the magic user, he confirmed. In that case, I cast benign transportation and swapped places with the human fighter. There was a smattering of applause and a murmur of approval from the other players. It was a good play. I could threaten the mage to leave us alone, and, if it came to blows, the rest of the party could support me remotely. The GM cleared his throat. As you teleport a light source up to the platform, everyone can now see the form of the magic user. Towering above your human fighter is a fully grown blue dragon. My fighter blanched in horror, but passed his fear save. I could hear the sorcerer's player throw his head in his hands as he said, "Dear goodness, I've killed another one." He was immediately apologetic for teleporting a level 3 fighter into range of an adult blue dragon. Challenge rating 14. So there we were. None of the PCs wanted to be the ones to start the fight because we all knew that even when they're around your level, dragon fights are the worst. When it horrifically outlevels you, your party is split up to begin with. It has plenty of room to fly around, and you can't see outside 60 feet anyways. They're extra the worst. So we started diplomatizing. We flattered, we begged pardon, we offered tribute, and we let the dragon know we would be swiftly on our way. And it just worked. The dragon wasn't like a guardian or anything, he just lived here. He didn't have much interest in us, he was just a little bored, so he shooed my fighter off his ledge, 2d6 fall damage, and we all moved on with our lives, baffled. There was a brief player huddle. We were all really confused. We wanted to trust our friend and believe there was a point to all this, but every encounter kept feeling like something that was killing me, rather than something that was enriching the plot. We resolved, once again, to keep plotting forward. Bad Pathfinder was better than no Pathfinder, after all. So, the dungeon couldn't be too much longer if the GM wanted to have time to bring this adventure to any level of satisfying conclusion. We exited the Dragon Dome. The next chamber was some sort of lava puzzle. Normally, we would have been all about solving a puzzle, but without an understanding of why, and with a feeling of doom and inevitability hanging over us, we just tried the random answer that involved moving the puzzle at the least. As a punishment for failure, a fire elemental appeared. It was at this point that we learned we could kill a fire elemental pretty swiftly if we got initiative. So, while the paladin redirected lava flows, trying all the answers, the rest of the party prepared actions and murdered elemental after elemental. We must have killed at least a half a dozen of the things before they even got a chance to act. Eventually, something worked though, and the door opened. We all shuffled through, and then the door closed again. You stand upon a ledge, the GM described with dramatic flair, looking out over the labyrinth. There was a moment of silence. GM, the human paladin players asked, you've got this maze, mapped out, right? Well, no, the GM admitted, but I've got stuff you could run into when you get lost. There was another moment of silence. I'm gonna go make a sandwich, the paladin said. We waited for a half hour for the paladin to return to his microphone, but he never did. One by one, we thanked the GM for the game and offered some half-hearted consolations, but everyone was a little glad to just be done with it. The GM offered to pick it up again next week, but there was some reason we couldn't meet, and we never did again. Months of solid weekly gaming were lost in that labyrinth, beyond that dome, under that mountain. It was the last time I played with some of those guys, including the GM. We had been using the games of Pathfinder to keep in regular contact, so we drifted apart naturally in the absence. To the friends I did keep in regular contact with, for years the campaign reached mimetic status. Whenever something was going wrong, or you had a lot of questions you were asking at once, we'd reference it. Who was that guy? What did he want? What should we do now? And what was that dragon doing in that dome? TLDR, the epic adventure has a guilt trip, a dragon in a dome that doesn't want to stop us from walking forward, a trap tripped, repeatedly, and then, right as the players are at their lowest level of investment, the labyrinth. The paladin's player goes make a sandwich and never returns. The game dies. Thank you for reading my pointless story. I know that RPG Horror Stories is full of games where someone draws a knife, or someone gets banned from a game store, so I expect my story is a little bland by comparison. However, this was a story I wanted to tell because it represents the strangest railroad I have ever been on. To this day, none of us have any idea whether that city of 215,000 people really was just nuked off the face of Golarion, who the assassins were, why they were attacking the Pathfinders, whether all the other Pathfinder lodges in the entire world had also been slaughtered at the same time, or, indeed, what that dragon was doing in that dome. Now, this one's a little interesting. This is where the story eventually falls apart. Everyone leaves. There were just too many things trying to get done in the story. You were leading people on so many challenges, and they never felt like they were getting anywhere. If you've seen the YouTube channel How to Be a Great Game Master, one of the things he talks about a lot is pace and how it can kill or revive a campaign. This was too slow. You needed to speed things up, make sure the players felt that they were getting somewhere. One thing I personally like to talk about is accomplishing things for characters. You know, some characters want to kill a lot and level up. I mean, everyone wants to level up. Some characters want to discover more of their backstory, and some want to get more into the politics of the world. All in all, there's many different ways that a character can feel like they're having an impact and progressing. But if you try and make an adventure campaign that appeals to everything and spread yourself so thin, oftentimes they're not going to feel like they're improving much in any way, and it'll feel like it's going nowhere. You were trying to get that mortal guilt trip with those monsters that you had to attack them, and then, oh no, I need to feed my kids. Yes, understandably, sometimes you want a character progression to feel that moral dilemma, but this is after you've already had multiple challenges and multiple things and tons of stuff everywhere. You're spreading yourself too thin. Focus on just a couple character progression things that can be clearly defined, that way they can feel like they're making an impact. I can see that the dragon was mostly there for comedic effect. You're trying to lighten the mood, people weren't feeling all that good, it's dragging on and on, the pace is too slow. Well, that one, it's a bygone, I guess it didn't land too well. But you should be able to also sense as a GM when your players are starting to get tired. When you went through an encounter, another encounter, a puzzle, a trial, another puzzle, encounter. Sometimes there's just too much in the way for the characters to finally get to their goal. They don't feel like they're getting anything. So that labyrinth at the end, yeah, you should have said, haha, joking, here's the final room. It's difficult. And the players also need to communicate with you. This one's a little bit on their fault as well, not just the GM. Just saying, I'm going to go make a sandwich and ditching doesn't let him know why. He doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't know what's wrong. Clearly, he's lacking a bit of that awareness to see how people aren't enjoying it, but you also need to tell him sometimes. Because the difference between a GM and the players is the GM knows where you're supposed to go. He knows when the payoff is coming. The players don't. And so you run into this little bit of different perspectives lead to different feelings about the game. You gotta talk it through, let people know, more communication is necessary here. I think this campaign could have been saved, that things could have kept going along, but the big problem here was the GM wasn't giving the players the payoff they needed to feel like they were going somewhere. So it ended up falling apart, and there's not too much you can do after that. This was part 4 in a 4-part series. All the other parts will be on my channel. I'll put them in a playlist. They should be all there for everyone who wants to see them if you want to finish the story. If you like what I do, like my content, and you want more D&D stuff just like it, be sure to subscribe for more. Leave a comment on what you would have done, or anything you want me to change, or what I'm doing good. I read every one of those, and it's really helpful information. With all that being said, I'm Nick from the Sage Scrolls. I'll see y'all in the next video.